Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Oh, baby. Come on. What is up, Bills Mafia? Are you still partying with me, baby? We're a few days removed, but it doesn't matter. This party's going on all the way until we get to Nashville this weekend, baby. Come on, dance with me. Ooh. Do a little hula girl here. Switch it up a little bit. Ooh. Ooh. Come on. Come on. This one goes out to everybody who said it could not be done. They said it couldn't be done. But guess what? Ben done did it, baby. Ho, ho, ho. Welcome into the smoke break, ladies and gents. Wednesday night, live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. And if you couldn't tell by now, I am pumped up, baby, fired up to have you on for this one. And I think you know why. The Bills are coming off their biggest regular season win in recent memory, no debate. Perhaps one of the biggest wins in my lifetime outside of the playoffs. And it feels so good to have you in to talk about this one. I wish my show was earlier than Wednesday. I've been waiting very impatiently to have you here live. And here we are, Wednesday night smoke break. Welcome in, ladies and gents, off of a Sunday night football victory for the ages in Arrowhead. The Buffalo Bills improved to 4-1 and have solidified themselves almost unarguably as the best team in the National Football League. I'm not exactly sure how close it is. It seems like the Bills are here and the rest of the NFL is just a tier below. The Bills have separated themselves in a fashion that even we most optimistic Bills fans did not think was possible. 38-20 on the road in one of the most hostile environments in all of sports. Arrowhead, prime time, a place where Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and the so-called dynasty of the Kansas City Chiefs are supposedly untouchable. They're supposedly unbeatable out in Arrowhead. And the narrative, of course, was Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They're good. Who have they played? They've played nobody. Their offensive stats, they're terrific, but look at the defenses they played. Their defensive stats are terrific, but look at the offenses they played. Who is this Buffalo Bills team? They've proved nothing. And if you've listened to me over the last several weeks, I said the same. And it's because it was the truth. Despite the fact that the Bills had absolutely blown 3 dumpster fires out of the water back to back to back, what did we know about this Buffalo Bills team from that other than when they play inferior competition, they are going to prove that they are inferior. But here came the mighty Kansas City Chiefs in a primetime standalone spot. NBC put out the numbers today from their PR team. It peaked at over 22 million viewers before the weather delay. 22 million people in the stage to watch Josh Allen put on a career performance in a spot that many doubted he could do. in a spot that many doubt the Bills could do. And it wasn't just that the Bills won, of course. The Bills did win. It was in the fashion in which they won. They carried the fashion in which they had beaten Washington, in which they had beaten Miami, in which they had beaten the Houston Texans, and brought it into the most hostile environment, arguably, in the NFL, against the best quarterback in the NFL, arguably. And they got the job done in a way that left you sitting there after the game saying, my God, the Bills, my Bills, as you sat there, you go, my Bills are the best damn team in the land. By the time that game ended, the weather delay and all, if you're on the East Coast, which I'm sure the majority of you are, that game didn't end till around 1. I don't think anybody gave a blank. Didn't matter how early you had to get up the next day. Didn't matter what you have to do the next day. I cracked myself a nice Blue Toad cider, gluten-free, no beer for this guy. A nice Blue Toad cider with my dad, kicked back, and we just took it in. We just sat back and soaked it in. Now, the majority of people who see this, who aren't Bills fans and who have seen us celebrating on Twitter for the better half of the last 72 hours, will say, well, geez, Z-Bot and the rest of Bills Mafia, you're acting like you won the Super Bowl. No, that's not at all how we're acting. None of us feel like this is the Super Bowl. What we have realized on Sunday night is the Super Bowl is now more than possible. It is the ultimate goal. It is in the front of the driver's seat, in the Bills, like I have mentioned, are in the Ferrari going well over the speed limit on their way to it. So no, we're not acting like the Bills won the Super Bowl. We're acting as if the Bills can win the Super Bowl. And what we learned on Sunday night is that's more than capable. What we learned on Sunday night is that the Bills are the Super Bowl favorite, not just based on the Vegas odds, but based on the eye test, which we all know. We've talked about it. It's more important than any analytic, more important than any stat. What you see with your eyes can prove a lot. And nobody outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers under Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, at home in the Super Bowl has beaten Patrick Mahomes the way the Buffalo Bills just did. And everybody going into this game was nervous. If you weren't, you're lying to yourself. As we saw from the Chiefs fans who decided to spend their Wednesday evening with us last week, they weren't nervous for this one. They're nervous now. And this is what I said last week. If the Bills win, the narrative completely flips. Because the Chiefs did not have anything to be nervous about up until that point. What have they done? Or what have the Bills done up until Sunday night to prove that the Chiefs should be nervous? On the flip side, what had the Chiefs done to us to prove that we should not be nervous? The narrative was completely flipped Sunday night. Now, I understand last year the Bills lose to the Chiefs twice, and neither of them felt particularly close, but none of them felt like what Sunday night was. That was a beatdown. That was a beatdown in a way that everybody outside of Buffalo refuses to accept. If you've noticed the storyline, and it started with Chris Collinsworth, and I'll get into him throughout the show here. I will defend him and I will reprimand him for what I witnessed up in the booth from Chris Collinsworth on Sunday night. But that narrative was set from the get-go on Sunday Night Football in the broadcast booth. It wasn't the Bills are good. It wasn't the Bills are great. It wasn't Josh Allen's an MVP candidate. The storyline was mostly, well, the Chiefs they're down on their luck. They're not playing well. What's wrong with the Chiefs? That narrative, it doesn't exist. There's nothing wrong with the Chiefs. Their defense is not good. Let's face it. But the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. The Chiefs are still going to be right there at the end. Don't forget it. Don't knock them out of your top 10 power rankings. Don't knock them out of your Super Bowl bubble. The Chiefs are going to be right there. The narrative, however, is the Bills are the best football team in the National Football League. And that does not mean the Chiefs are a bad team, a struggling team. They still have one of the most potent offenses in the entire league. Patrick Mahomes is still putting up the best QBR in the entire league. But what happened? We learned a variety of different things, a litany of things on Sunday. The list is immeasurable as to what we learned from this Buffalo Bills team on Sunday night. For starters, we learned this defense is for real. I think the first question that most Bills fans had going into that game was, how is this Bills defense going to handle a potent offense like the one the Chiefs possess? because they have absolutely destroyed 3 straight teams with basically backup quarterbacks. Multiple shutouts, a field day, numerous turnovers, leading the league in the department. What were we going to see from this Buffalo Bills defense to prove it was for real? Well, what we had to see in order to prove that is exactly what we saw on Sunday, almost to the point of where you were in utter disbelief. I don't think anybody thought, despite how great of a performance the Bills D would have, that it would be that dominant, that it would prove in one game that the Bills are one of, if not the best defensive unit in the entire league. But it doesn't stop there. Right now, the Bills, and here's how you can't argue that they're not the number 1 football team in the league. It's indisputable at this point. How can you argue against it? How can you argue against it right now as I sit here and read to you aloud the current statistics in which this Buffalo Bills team is putting out on the field right now? 34.3 points a game on the offensive side of the ball, 12.8 points allowed on the defensive side of the ball. Folks, we are talking about video game numbers here. 12.8 points a game. 12.8 points a game. Do you understand how ridiculous that is in a league in which every one of these teams possess the greatest athletes on the face of the planet? 12.8. And I don't think anybody coming into this season could have imagined the Bills' defensive unit would be even close to what I'm uttering right now. But we have now seen 5 weeks in a row, including the Pittsburgh Steelers game, that this Bills defensive unit is for real. We needed that litmus test. We needed that test against a stout offense, and it doesn't get more stout than Kansas City. And the Bills shut them down on defense. They toyed with them. They turned Patrick Mahomes over in ways that were uncharacteristic. Micah Hyde to the house, pick 6, doing things that teams that have Super Bowl aspirations must do on a weekly basis in order to get to that ultimate goal. And they must do that against the best competition in the league. The Bills just did it. The Bills just did it. And outside of that defense, which I think right now alone could win them games. It has been almost. Outside of that defense, you're getting an offense right now that's the best in the league. You are combining the 2 best units in the league on the same team. How could you argue they're not the best team in the league? Best defense in the league right now, best offense in the league. Do not downplay the fact that the Chiefs are not good on defense right now. All Chris Collinsworth wanted to talk about in that game was the injuries on the side of the Kansas City Chiefs defensive side of the ball. There was only one uttering of Matt Milano being hurt. Are people forgetting that Matt Milano is statistically the best linebacker in the NFL? You barely heard his name. The Bills did not win a game in that slate of games they had last year in which Matt Milano was hurt. They lost back-to-back games to the Chiefs and to the Titans, rather ugly. That was a huge loss for the Bills. Matt Milano not being out on that field was a huge loss. The Bills still held the Chiefs to 20 points. The Chiefs' offense isn't struggling. Stop making excuses for the Chiefs. Their offense is not struggling. The Bills' defense was just the better unit on the field. The storyline is not the Chiefs are bad. The storyline is not Patrick Mahomes is falling off. The storyline is the Bills' defense might be the best in the league, and statistically right now they are. And you are matching that right now with what we have been dying to see ever since week 1. And we're starting to see that rear its head frequently now. We are seeing MVP performances out of Josh Allen. What Josh Allen pulled off in the amount of throws that he had on Sunday is absolutely, I have no words for it. 15 completions for 315 yards. Are you kidding me? It's funny because I'll do that in Madden, right? Because I'm weird like that. I'll play a lot of Madden. I play a lot of Madden, especially right before the game, just to get juiced up, simulate the game. And I like it to be as realistic as possible. And I hate the fact that when I'm slinging the ball around with Josh Allen and Madden, the stats are ridiculously unrealistic. I'll have those exact stats that Josh Allen just put up, but on Madden. And I think to myself, well, it doesn't seem very realistic. I don't know if they can pull that off. But no. They did in real life. 15 completions for 315 yards. Are you out of your mind? Mind you, 0 interceptions out of 26 attempts. 15 to 26, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns for a rating of 139.1. Give me a break. If you want to understand how insane that is, Patrick Mahomes had 33 completions, more than double what Josh Allen put up on Sunday night. He only had 272 yards. Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 54 times against the Buffalo Bills. 272 yards. Josh Allen threw it 26 times, nearly half. And he put up more than 40 yards more than Patrick Mahomes in that same game. And more touchdowns. Are you kidding me? Now, this doesn't solidify that Josh Allen's the better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's saying that. But in that game, he certainly was. So to Nick Wright and everybody else who constantly wants to find something in Josh Allen's game to fault, which that was fair. To fault Josh Allen in games against Patrick Mahomes, the sample size was small, but it was there. It was fair to do that. Josh Allen had faltered against the Chiefs twice. Proved that was an anomaly. We learned so much about this Buffalo Bills team on Sunday night. A lot more to come on this one. But before I continue on, I want to introduce a new segment to the show. And I think it's going to be awesome. So many of you in the chat talking nonstop. I love this so much. It's my favorite thing to get you guys all in here, fired up, talking. Over 100 of you in here right now. Over thousands and thousands of you throughout the week who either watch live or afterwards. Hell, Rico post-game. Shout out my boy Rico. Post-game of the Chiefs game, over 10,000 viewers on that post-game show. So what better way to make this show the next level? What better way to bring the audience in than to introduce the Smoke Break Botline? Smoke Break Botline, how may I transfer your call? So here's the deal before we get into more Bills-Chiefs talk. The Smoke Break Botline is the new segment we will have on this show weekly, barring any different circumstance. We're going to be having you guys on the show live. You can call in via video chat. Now, you have to be a Bing Squad member. You have to be a Buffalo Fanatics member. Once you have subscribed to the subscription service, not just subscribe on YouTube, but the paid subscription through Buffalo Fanatics, you will have the opportunity to not only call into my show, but Rico's as well. You can hop on, ask questions, talk about anything that's on your mind. Give me your thoughts on a game, whatever it might be. I want to have you guys on. I want to share this run with you because it's moments like Sunday night that you just don't want to sit here alone and speak to yourself. You want to share it with fellow Bills Mafia. So you out there watching right now live, if you want to hop on the show, the link to come on will be posted in the Bing Squad chat. If you're a part of it, you already know what I'm talking about. If you're not, get signed up. You will immediately be allowed to get into that chat. That is where the link will be posted. You will be able to hop in on the show, ask questions, talk with me, and make this whole experience even more interactive. I absolutely love it. That starts right now and throughout this show and the rest of the shows to come. If you have anything you want to talk about, hop on. I'll be able to see you in the background, and I'll try to get to all of you as best I can and talk about everything that you want to bring up. Awesome. So excited about that. I've been wanting to do that for a while. Didn't know the exact logistics on it, but we have it all figured out, and that's great. New member, just like that. You'll love to see it, baby. RC3, smoke you up, baby. RC3 has just became a Bing Squad member. Now, of course, Rico's got the bell. I got the smoke button, baby. Welcome to the Fanatics RC3. Pleasure to have you, and it's a pleasure to have all of our Bing Squad members in attendance tonight, as well as all of you Buffalo Fanatics. So where else can we go on this one except everywhere? There's so much to talk about this game, and it's almost impossible to get it all in at once. And that's how it felt as you were watching it. It just felt overwhelming. And I'll go back to what I said last week. This game felt like that one hump that the Bills have yet to get over. And we've seen them get over so many humps under the Sean McDermott, Josh Allen era. We've seen them finally knock off the Patriots, especially in Gillette. You've seen them win the division. You've seen them get to the playoffs. You've seen them win a playoff game, get all the way to the AFC Championship. But there was still plenty of doubters out there, and it's almost understandable, right? If you can't beat the Chiefs, if you can't beat the king of the hill, then you're not the king. Simple as that. If you can't beat the king of the hill, you're not the king. And the Bills had to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in order to be considered the team that everybody wanted to consider them as. And that's why that game Sunday was so big. And I said this last week, outside of the inevitable, outside of the fact that if the Bills won that game and did, there would be so much riding on the rest of the season that would be easily obtainable after this game. And we'll get into that in a second in the schedule, because I can't reiterate this enough. But outside of all of that, the one thing we were hoping to see the most is simply, could the Bills do it? Could the Bills prove that they are that Super Bowl caliber team? Now, they've proved it, of course. They got to the AFC Championship, but it wasn't close. It wasn't close. And I understand it's an early October game. It's week 5. I've seen all the arguments. Wasn't a big game. You know, it was a big game. How many people have I had in my Twitter mentions this week telling me it wasn't a big game? Well, what classifies as a big game? You know, not just playoff games and Super Bowls are big games. There are big games in the regular season. This is one of them, perhaps one of the biggest of the entire year. There's a reason it's on Sunday Night Football. You know, you're not going to see the Lions playing. You're not going to see the Lions playing the Jaguars very often on Sunday Night Football. Why? It's not a big game. This was a huge game. Back to what I said earlier, over 22 million watching. 22 million watching. Why? Because it's a superstar fest. And that's what it's become now in Buffalo. You have superstar talent in Buffalo, must-see TV. And then you pair that with a team in the Chiefs who are obviously must-see TV. And that's what we have to look forward to now throughout the duration of the tenure of Josh Allen in Buffalo, throughout the duration of the roster that they currently have in place. And then you see the talent in which they're going to be going up against over the next several years, the talent at quarterback, the talent that these offenses possess, like the LA Chargers, like the Kansas City Chiefs, like what we saw Baltimore do on Monday night. There's so much talent in the AFC right now, far and away better than the NFC. Yet here the Bills stand at the top of the hill, at the top of the hill. And you had to beat the Chiefs in order to prove it. Now, I said last week the Bills didn't have to necessarily win. They had to prove that they were capable of winning. They didn't prove last year in 2 games that they were capable of winning those 2. They weren't close. You know, despite the fact that the Bills got out to that early lead in the AFC Championship, the game wasn't close. You get off to that early lead, you never felt comfortable. The Bills never felt comfortable, and all of a sudden the game was over, and that lead, you were happy for what? 20 minutes that night, if that. But this game was the complete opposite. And I said, listen, you don't have to necessarily win. You got to prove that you can hang in there with the Chiefs. But not only did they hang in there, not only did they beat them, 38-20, and it was on the road. I can't emphasize enough how much more impressive that was. And of course, that would have been a narrative too if it was in Buffalo, because that was the narrative after Baltimore beat the Chiefs. I'm a huge Pro Football Talk fan, Mike Florio. His big argument for the Ravens finally beating the Chiefs was the fact that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens finally got the Chiefs out of Arrowhead and in Baltimore, and that's why they won. So that would have been the narrative. Had the Bills had gotten the Chiefs into one Bills drive, that would have been the story. Well, it was at home. That's why, the Bills had the upper hand. Now, it was on the road, hostile environment. That place was louder than hell before the weather delay. And that's another thing. Of course, right? You're sitting there as a Bills fan, and if I've said this once, I've said it a million times. You constantly go back to your old Bills fandom ways, right? Where you're like, oh, here we go. Here we go. It's always something, right? And here the Bills are dominating the Chiefs in a way that we were just desperate to see, dying to see, hoping to God it was possible. And here comes the weather delay. And I think if you're like me, if you're like most Bills fans, and it's okay to admit this, you're sitting back saying, here we go. Here's where the tide's going to turn. Because only would this happen to Buffalo, where they're kicking the hell out of the Chiefs and basically a tsunami comes through Kansas City and it delays the game, an hour and a half? The game didn't end till over 1 a.m. So that right there, you're thinking, you got Michelle Tafoya talking about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. The team is in the size of a locker room, the size of a New York City apartment. I mean, it seemed like the writing was on the wall to where you would understand, of course, Bills were dominating. They're going to lose the momentum. Boom, there it goes. Nope. And that to me is what made it so much more impressive. There was multiple aspects of this game that really just made you go, wow. Super, super impressed, right? Multiple aspects. One, you get out to that lead at half and you take it in there and you go into that environment in which there's a weather delay. You have to deal with all that comes with that. But then you go out and when it seems like the Chiefs are going to sneak back into it, the Bills make defensive play after defensive play after defensive play. And then just when you thought the Bills offense couldn't do anything, which let's be fair, in the early second half, they couldn't do anything. And then again, of course, you're like, well, here we go. Where is the first half offense from the Bills? They can't move the ball all of a sudden. Just when you thought that wasn't going to happen, that they weren't going to be able to get the offense back in gear, they shut the door. Right as Chris Collinsworth was talking about how Josh Allen probably is not an MVP candidate. Right as he was talking about that, splits defenders right to Emmanuel Sanders touchdown. It's incredible to sit back and see where the Bills are just 5 weeks through the season here and what the possibilities potentially will be as you look ahead. And after this week, which I could say to you right now, in all honesty, might be even a bigger game than the Kansas City Chiefs game. Why? Because there is that hangover effect. The Bills go out and get their biggest win in the regular season in a very, very long time. It'd be very easy to look over a Tennessee Titans team on the road who lost to the New York Jets. Everybody's thinking about it, right? It'd be very easy to overlook the Tennessee Titans. Now, I don't expect the Bills to overlook anybody. That's not their mantra. But the reason I think this game is huge is because can you prove that after going out and slashing what was the king of the AFC, can you do it again to a team that kicked the hell out of you a season ago? Now, that would be, chef's kiss right there. Last year, the Bills play the Chiefs and the Titans back-to-back. They get smacked in both of them. Ironically enough, they were both primetime games. And here we are again. 2 more primetime games against the same teams back-to-back. This time, both on the road. Bills get it done against Kansas City. Will they get it done against Tennessee? That is the question we all have in our minds. And in just a minute here, I got my buddy Steve Zaccardo joining, big Tennessee Titans fan. And I thought to myself, I'd love to have a Titans fan on. Do they have any fans? And I thought to myself, I go, wow, every time I go to Nashville, I haven't seen one of them. Now I'm going this weekend. 2 years ago, I go to the game. I look around that stadium. I go, damn, when the hell did the Pagulas build a stadium in Nashville? This place is gorgeous. So I thought to myself, I go, I got to find at least one fan. I'm thinking to myself, now I spent a couple days on this, actually. Oh, my buddy Steve. He's a Titans fan. I'm sure he'd love to come on and talk to me about the Titans going against the best team in the NFL in Monday Night Football prime time. Before we bring Steve on, as I always do each week, I got to tell you that this one is brought to you by our friends over at Manscaped. And Manscaped gets me looking this good, and it can get you looking even better, I promise you. And when you see Steve Z coming on, my man Steve's had a beard since the 4th grade, and he's been manscaping since then. I'm telling you this. And the reason he looks so sharp, even for being a Titans fan, is because he uses the Lawnmower 4.0. Now, this thing is the best men's grooming product on the market. You've heard me say it a million times. You're going to hear me say it a million more. The built-in LED light. the wireless charging functionality. And you better believe I'm bringing that thing to Tennessee with this weekend with me. Why? Maybe I might shave the Bills logo in the back of my head. How am I going to do it? Well, I got to need something. There's the Lawnmower 4.0 with that awesome travel lock built into it, so I can bring that to Nashville safely, get out into the lots where there'll be an overwhelming amount of Bills fans and potentially have somebody shave the Bills logo into my head. I know Brother Bill is a barber. Potentially, I could have him do that to me. I wouldn't trust anybody else. We'll see how many White Claws I have out in Nashville. But nonetheless, the moral of the story here is head over to manscaped.com, get the Lawnmower 4.0 and all of your men's grooming products with a special discount using the promo code Fanatics. That's manscaped.com, promo code Fanatics. Get the Lawnmower 4.0 today. Like I've been saying, if you don't have it already, what are you waiting for? Get over there, get it done. Special discount, Fanatics. And with that said, tough to move on from the Chiefs game, but we only have so much time. And with that time, we got to talk about the next game. As Josh Allen said to Michelle Tafoya in the postgame, you can only focus on the game in which is in front of you. Chiefs game was in the rear view, and the Bills did a terrific job of not playing that game up to more than what it was. They'll never do that. They will never do that. The Bills could be playing in the Super Bowl next week. They're going to treat it like it's just another game. Now, I'm sure the Titans are treating this like it's their Super Bowl because, hey, they're playing the best team in the league this week, and it's going to be very interesting to hear from a fan's perspective of those Tennessee Titans. So with that said, welcoming on my good friend, Steve Zuccardo. There he is.
Yes, sir.
Got the Vince Young jersey on. And the reason for that, folks, when's the last time Steve's had the opportunity to buy a Titans jersey worth wearing? Oh,
See,
Steve, I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me? Like, we didn't just have
a Derrick Henry yet. Where is it?
I do have a Derrick Henry. Of course I do. I got a Derrick. I got an AJ Brown.
All right. You wanted to go retro.
Yeah.
I appreciate you joining me, Steve.
Absolutely.
First question, I got to get it out of the way here. The Bills aren't no New York Jets. We need to talk about the inevitable, the elephant in the room here, the thing that I think a lot of Bills fans are hanging their hat on right now. And I think that that's not fair, but it's the low-hanging fruit. And that is, okay, well, the Bills just beat the Chiefs. My God, the Tennessee Titans lost to the Jets. What happened in that game as you sat there as a Titans fan, allowing the Jets under Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh to get their first win against those Tennessee Titans? As a fan, what happened? How did that feel?
I mean, what didn't happen? I was watching that game with my dad, who is a diehard Jets fan, right? And I'm thinking the same thing you're thinking, right? Like, oh, we're playing the Jets. Like, they just lost to so-and-so. Like, Zach Wilson threw 4 interceptions. We got this locked up. I'm like happy to watch the game with my dad because I'm assuming a victory. It went terrible from the beginning. Obviously, we didn't have Julio Jones. We didn't have AJ Brown. And they knew what was coming. Like, they knew we were running the ball the entire time. And our defense is it's just Swiss cheese. I mean, it's just not been good. So hopefully we get that squared away this week.
Going into this week, you just watch, and I got to think, as a team in the Tennessee Titans that has that defense that is just terrible. It's lackluster, to put it simply. And
it's terrible, Zach.
It's terrible.
Don't sugarcoat it.
I won't sugarcoat it. I'm trying to be. I haven't been very nice. I'm trying to be nicer here. You were
talking some noise right before I hopped on.
I had to. It's too fun. As you well know, there's a couple boys in our circle up here who's been talking some noise in the web sphere, the interwebs these days. So it's always nice to give it a little bit back, especially in a game. You know, it's a big game. This is a big game this week, and anytime you get a primetime game, no matter who you're playing, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And this one for the Bills, it's a bit more of a big deal than we would make it had last year not happened. You had that COVID outbreak. The game gets shifted to a Tuesday, and the Bills get rolled by Tennessee. It was weird. Mm-hmm. But now you see, man, we're talking 4 weeks in a row where the Bills offense has put up record numbers. The defense is allowing 12.8 points a game. Where are you at right now with that Tennessee defense, thinking to yourself, man, I got it coming in right now that's averaging damn near 5 touchdowns a game?
I mean, yeah, you said it. Like, I'm expecting nothing good I mean, obviously, the fan in me hopes, miraculously our defense is going to string it together for this game and be able to, get off the field on third down, which is something we've had a lot of trouble doing within the last 2 years. But I mean, I'm looking at this Bills offense and I'm not seeing a way that, we're able to hold the Bills under 28 points. And we're going to need to do that if we want to win.
Outside of that, which I'm thinking is going to be a tall task, I don't know if I see that. I mean, you got the Titans allowing 27 points to the Jets.
Yep.
And, in a very potent offense in the Arizona Cardinals, put up 38.
Oh, that was so bad.
If you're, to start the year, no less. And if you're looking at those two offenses right now, Bills, Cardinals right at the top. Outside of holding the Bills to under their average point total of the year, what gets it done for Tennessee Monday night to help them keep in this game?
We're going to need to be able to run the ball. I mean, I think that's the formula for us, in every game. If we can run the ball, control the time of possession, and just, take the ball out of Josh's hands, I mean, that's got to be the game plan. I think once we're able to, establish that run, it's a lot better for our offense, obviously. The troubling thing is, like, honestly, our run game, I mean, obviously Derrick Henry, he's leading the league in rushing. Yeah, everyone knows that. But if you watch the games, I mean, the vast majority of his runs are under 5 yards, unfortunately. Like, that's just how it is. He rushes the ball 30 times a game, so obviously he's going to get more, but I need to see more out of him. I need to see more out of this offensive line. I need to see more out of Ryan Tannehill. I just need to see a lot better.
Are the Tennessee Titans a playoff team this year?
I think yes, because look at our division. We got Carson Wentz on the Colts. We got whoever's playing quarterback on the Texans, Davis Mills. And then, I mean, what you got in Jacksonville too. I think we're a playoff team. I mean, and here's the thing too. It's week 5, right? No, it's week 6. Week 5 now, right?
Going into week 6.
There's a lot of season left. There's a lot of time for teams to turn it around. And hopefully we do that. Hopefully we start turning it around a little bit and playing how we played last year when we beat you guys 42-16. That's all we can hope for.
Listen, I was dogging you just like friends do coming out of the show. But in all honesty, Steve, my God, what is it about the Bills fan base and Nashville? I've never seen anything like it. 2 years ago was the first opportunity I had to experience it. I mean, good God, it's almost like the entire city just decides to it's almost like the city gets picked up on like a conveyor belt and just dropped off in Nashville. Does that insult you a little bit as a fan, especially somebody who's going to the game yourself? I
think it's something that I'm used to now, being a part of this fan base for so long. It's such a quiet market. It's such a quiet group of fans that I'm not surprised that, Bills fans are showing up to Nashville, especially when Nashville is it screams Bills Mafia. It's drinking, it's partying, it's country music. No. What wouldn't Bills Mafia like about Nashville? It's a perfect excuse to go on a little trip with your family and go watch your team play. I'm not surprised.
You know what? I think Nashville is everything Buffalo wishes it was. Could you imagine if the strip of Nashville was right outside the stadium of Buffalo? The stadium would be half empty, and that'd be because half the people couldn't make it in, including myself.
It would be mayhem.
It's a problem.
It would be absolute mayhem.
Here's what
I don't even know. Were you there last year?
I was, yeah.
What was it like?
2 years ago. Oh, last year. Yeah, no, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Well, no, last year was the Monday night. Oh, but it was COVID,
I think it was
right?
in Buffalo. Yeah, nobody played.
That's right. Okay,
nobody was there. Yeah.
Okay, but what was it like last time you were in Nashville? Because I never have been to a Titans game when they were playing the Bills, and I know that the Bills Mafia is traveling. So
it was weird to me because it's not like you're in Cleveland. It's not like it's a 3-hour drive. It's not like it's right down the road. It's damn near a 12-hour drive. It's not easy. I took a freaking bus, man. I'm sure there's
you're dedicated.
Bro, don't even get me started on this. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Coach Bus. We met at the bar outside of the Bills Stadium. The one, I always forget the name, the one that looks like a triangle. We're all there. What is it? What was it? Thursday night. Everybody's getting wasted.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Phil, I do take the bus. Bot takes the bus. Bot took the bus all the way to Nashville.
Sure did.
It wasn't just one bus, Steve. I'm talking like 8 coach buses. The news was there interviewing people.
Bro, hop on a flight.
Listen, you came down Oswego. We've gone out a few times. You know we like to have a good time.
That is true.
Yeah. I couldn't keep up with anybody on this bus. I'm talking people crushing 30s for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on these buses. And you get there and you're thinking, all right, we got 8 buses full of people. That's a lot. Dude, that wasn't even the tip of the iceberg. They set up a tailgate. They dominated one whole parking lot of the Tennessee Titans stadium.
Yeah.
They set up a massive tent. They hired caterers, barbecue throughout the place, thousands of Bills fans. And the days leading up to it, it was all Bills fans on the strip. Yeah. All Bills fans in every bar. And then you get to the game, and if you remember that game, very low scoring. It was Marcus Mariota's very last start as a Tennessee Titan.
Oh, yeah.
It was not a fun game other than the fact that the Bills won at the end. But to answer your question, I had never seen anything like it. And I think that this weekend, it being Monday night, here's my 2 thoughts on that. One, I'm terrified. It's an extra day. And it's a night game. So we're not talking about the Bills and their fans getting there at 1. You only had so long to get a few in you.
True.
You got the whole damn day. So we'll see what happens there. 2, you got to think more people travel because it's a primetime game and the Bills just knocked the Chiefs off. Everybody's stoked.
For sure. No, I mean, does that see to me like weren't the Bills undefeated when we played you guys last year too? Or obviously you're not this year, but last year.
Last year. I think the Titans game was I think it was after the Chiefs game. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, it was the Bills were undefeated up until the Chiefs Titans back-to-back loss.
Point being, you guys were undefeated or close to undefeated on a roll last season when we played you guys. You know what happened in that game. Is that crossing your mind at all? Like that little hangover effect that that idea of, okay, now we have a target on our back. We just beat Pat Mahomes.
Right.
Now we have a target on our back.
That's why I was just saying before you came on, I look at this game now that, I say this now that the Chiefs game is in the books, but you almost look at this game as it being even bigger because once you do that, once you beat the Chiefs, right, which is seldomly done, you are now the team that everybody is talking about. You are now the team that everybody is anointing as the best team in the league. You are now X, Y, and Z.
Rightly so.
Right. And then you have a Titans team who, I think the majority of people will just look at the fact that they lost to the Jets. It's an easy thing to look at.
I know.
And I look at this and I say, this game is big because it proves that what the Bills have been saying all last week was true. It's just a game against the Chiefs, no more, no less. And the first thing that was out of Josh Allen's mouth during the post-game interview was, this was it. The game was the game, on to Tennessee. So to me, it's a huge game because I just think it's poetic how after last season, you get rolled by both teams. Now you have an opportunity to roll both in your own way. You do that to the Chiefs, and you have to think it's in the cards against a Titans team who's just not as potent on offense as the Chiefs, and you could argue probably has a worse defense.
That's the thing, and I'm extra worried because of that. I think there's going to be an extra focus for Buffalo to kind of eliminate that mindset of like, oh, we just had, one of the most important wins in recent Buffalo history, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm expecting them to not skip a beat. I think it's just up to us, to rise to that occasion, and I think we're a team that is like, that's the norm for us. We either play down to a competition or we play up to it. And hopefully this week we play up to it, but we'll see.
Honest to God, final score before I let you get your beauty rest before heading down to Nashville.
Final score. Honestly, I'm expecting a blowout. I'm expecting the Bills. Absolutely.
So you don't have any confidence right now.
Huh?
You don't have any confidence. None.
I have no confidence in this team whatsoever right now. I'm hopeful, but judging off of what I've seen so far, I know the Bills are going to rush for and still get home to Ryan Tannehill, who's a statue in the pocket. There's going to be a focus on the run game. And if we can't run the ball, then see you later. There goes everything, because we're not a team that can come back. If the score's 21-6 at halftime, we're not a team that's built to come back from that. Even though, Julio practiced today and AJ Brown's back, and hopefully we can, put something together there. But I don't know. I'm expecting a blowout.
If not for anything, you just made a ton of fans within the Mafia here, a ton of friends. They think you're the most intelligent guy.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to blow smoke on my team because they don't deserve it right now.
Listen, last week I had a couple of hecklers in here from Kansas City, and what they were saying was the truth, and I owned it. I said, because they weren't worried about the game. Now, they should have been based on how their defense was playing, but based on how the Bills had played them, why would they have been worried? They had been the superior team the last several seasons, and they did it twice in big spots against the Bills last year. Why am I supposed to be the guy to dispute that? You cannot talk about those things until they have been accomplished in real life. If not, it's just hearsay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. And I think lastly, the thing that's different now about this Bills team, they're playing defense. They're locking up on defense.
Steve, I never saw it coming, man. I don't think anybody
didn't either. No. And that was my thought coming into the season when I was thinking about the Bills. Like, what you're going to get out of the offense. Josh is Josh. Diggs is Diggs, even though he's kind of having a down year to his standards. But that defense is looking scary. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, Steve, you were a great sport. It's tough to come on here in front of a couple hundred Bills Mafia fans and be honest and own up to it. Plus, not for nothing, you got the best beard on the screen right now. But I can't let you go without asking you, Stevie boy, what happened to your Crimson Tide last week? I don't want this to be too rough of a week for you. Now, I hope the Bills take it somewhat easy on you. Come on.
I didn't know you were going to bring that up.
I just had to slip that in there. I could not believe it, man.
I couldn't believe it either. I think we just fell asleep. We slept on them, and we got our asses kicked.
Listen, Penn State blew it against Iowa, and I know
that was a good game.
Clifford went down, and it hurt.
I know, yeah. Both the quarterback situations in that game were not ideal, but
the Bills healed my wounds, thank God. Well, Steve,
absolutely.
Hey, I'm going to Nashville. Steve's going to Nashville. I know a bunch of you are. I can't wait to meet up with you this weekend, brother. We're gonna have a blast. It's gonna be
absolutely
fun.
Bro.
Hey, thanks for coming on, my brother, and I'll see you this weekend, all right?
Always.
Thanks, Steve.
Later.
Steve Zaccardo, what a guy. Great sport. I absolutely love that. You got to give him a little ribbon, of course. You got the opposite team coming in here. The beard on Steve, man, I'm not kidding you. I swear to God, as long as I've known Steve, he has had that exact beard. Gorgeous. I aspire to have it. Steve, one of the nicest dudes you'll meet. Great guy. Even if he is a Bama fan, even if he is a Titans fan, as a lot of people are saying here, I feel bad. As you could, did poor Steve not just feel sad coming on here? Did poor Steve not just feel like he was walking into that's what it's got to feel like. Could you imagine? That's how I felt, and that's how the majority of us felt. I walked into the stadium numerous times against the Patriots over my years here. I didn't walk in there once thinking it was all I was hoping to God was a miracle was going to happen. And now that's how some teams feel with the Bills coming to town. It's wild. It's a wild, wild time to be on the opposite end of it. We've been waiting our whole lives. At least I have. It's crazy. We're not done on the bot hotline, or the bot line, I should say. We got Rashid T, my man, coming in on the bot. Smoke break bot line. How may I transfer your call? Rashid, thanks for hopping on the bot line. You are the first, my friend.
Hey,
you're the first to take advantage of the bot line, and I'm excited to have you on. What is going on, my friend?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Sure,
I just got a couple concerns. It was kind of brought up on the broadcast and some of the sports shows I watch in the morning.
Let's hear it.
About how the Bills, got an easy schedule coming up. And with this early success, how do we keep them interested through a 17-game schedule and into the playoffs when they're going to go somewhat untested when it comes to like playing good playoff teams? And that's my main concern with this season, because we, maybe like 10 years ago, they had went 5-0 and didn't make the playoffs. So I'm really concerned about how.
Oh, you're referring to the Patriots here, the Sports Illustrated cover here.
Yeah, so that's
one of my
concerns. Yeah.
Well, and Rashid, it's a concern to be had, and I think that's why Sunday night was so big, right? Because that was the last opportunity. And I'm glad you brought this up because I really wanted to get into this. I got into it a bit last week, but the reason I want to get into it again is because now that Chiefs game is won, the 1 seed is so inevitable at this point for Buffalo that's my main focus right now. Yeah. I'm almost not concerned about what it's going to do to them going into the playoffs, because if you look, you're facing 2 pretty decent teams at the end in the Buccaneers and the Panthers, especially the Panthers with a really solid D. So you'll have that experience before going in. But the one thing that I'm focused on the most right now, Rashid, when I look at this schedule is first, let's take care of Tennessee, because the ultimate goal was to take care of the Chiefs and now have what is essentially a 3-game lead with the tiebreaker and 2 games ahead of the Chiefs. But if you take care of Tennessee, you are not playing a team that the Bills will be considered even remote underdogs against until Tampa Bay on December 12th, which as of yesterday is 2 months away. So, Rashid, I think that the concern is valid, but I also think for a Bills team that, listen, we went from a team that couldn't make the playoffs to now a team that you can't even imagine not getting the 1 seed. Right. I will take that. My concern is getting the 1 seed. At this point.
And then you got to worry about the Chargers. It's
agreed.
Sometimes in a year, there's a couple teams you'd be like, who can really challenge us? And you got to think about the Chargers look really good, along with the Cleveland Browns. They look really good, and those 2 teams are solid. Cleveland going to come in here in January. The weather is very similar with that running game, and then Justin Herbert is looking like a man-child. And so those are
he's my MVP right now, Rashid. I can't lie to you. I think Justin Herbert is the best out there right now, outside of Tom Brady. Right. Who, I mean, the guy throws 5 touchdowns a week and we just bat an eye at it. It's commonplace at this point. Justin Herbert, especially a guy who, you watch Tua go over him. And as a Bills fan, can we not just thank the heavens that that's the way it wound up going? Right. Justin Herbert, you're right, Rashid. And in my opinion, I'm glad you brought this up as well. I wanted to touch on, because the big question now is it's not who can knock the Chiefs off in the AFC. It's who can knock the Bills off. I think the Chargers right now are the second best team in the AFC.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't discount Cleveland. Cleveland.
I wouldn't either. They went toe to toe with them, and if it wasn't for that pass interference, Rashid, things could have went differently.
Yeah, what you need in the winter stages of the late stages of the season is a running game and defense, and stopping the run and defense. And Cleveland got both, so those are my concerns. But other than that, for the Bills, I think we look good. I think Josh is going to come along. His stats are, Nick Wright. I'm always watching him. I wish I could choke the hell out of him. But Josh's stats are going to come up. He's going to look good, and everybody on here know by now I'm not a Jerry Hughes fan at all. I think the guy's stealing money, and he actually put on his website a picture of meet him at the quarterback with a half a sack where Mahomes was sliding. So I'm like, this guy. Why don't we just? I like the rotation, but I like to get more young guys, let them play more. So.
And my God, Rashid, those young guys are balling out. Let's take a Greg Rousseau, who was a supposed project player, and let's have him win Defensive Player of the Year, or not Player of the Year, excuse me. Although, hey, maybe one of these years. But have him win Defensive Player of the Week against who else, Rashid, but the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, no, that was an excellent game, man. I live in Dallas, Texas, and they had a storm come through here. And it was like the worst broadcast ever. So I ended up watching it. Good thing I bought the NFL Game Pass and was able to do YouTube TV. It was a terrible broadcast, but I stayed up late unusually, but the Bills made my night. So, thanks for having me on.
Hey, Rashid, anytime. Bot line's always open. Call in whenever. Before I let you go, how often do you run into Bills fans out in Dallas?
I believe it or not, I used to stay in Hawaii and Alaska. Bills fans are everywhere, right? Oh, yeah. So when I can't get the games, when they don't come on national TV, I'm in Buffalo Wild Wings, and it's usually about 2 or 3 of us. We give that head nod. And, and I'm loud, too, and I don't even care. I represent Buffalo all day long because that's where I'm from. It's like, don't say anything about my Bills. It's a bar fight.
Love it. Rashid bringing the Mafia out to Jerry World. I love it. Hey, bot line's always open, Rashid. You are the first one. I'll smoke you up for it, my friend. Appreciate you coming on. and would love to talk to you again soon.
Peace.
Rashid, that was awesome. And hey, that goes to everybody, man. Botline is open for business. Back to back there, we got my man Steve. We appreciate him coming on, and Rashid opening up the Botline with a couple of great points. And let's talk some more about that schedule. Now, Rashid, I think he brings up a good point. However, this Bills team, do they strike you as a team that's going to look at anybody and just treat them like they're who their record indicates? Because if the 3 games prior to the Chiefs game told you anything, it was they don't care. They don't care. They didn't play any of those 3 opponents any less physically dominant than they did against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now let's go to this schedule. Because as I said to you last week, if the Bills got this game done, where do you see? I mean, I got to choose my words carefully here. Screw it. Go and look at the schedule. Where do you see the loss? Outside of the potential in the Buccaneers, who I think, come on. Are we scared of the Buccaneers right now with a banged up defense? Now, they probably won't be banged up by December 12th, but you can't tell me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers aren't beatable. Come on. They are more than beatable. We have looked at Tampa Bay this year. I thought Tampa Bay had the potential to go 17-0 this year, bringing back everybody they had last year, hitting the stride in which they did. Come on. They went toe-to-toe with New England in the biggest game of the year, potentially. Cowboys had them on the ropes, should have won. Rams beat them down. That game's winnable. But that, to me, is the only game that you can circle right now that's even going to be a close one. I think the Bills roll Tennessee on Monday. They got it out for Tennessee, a team last year who, let's be honest, embarrassed them. They embarrassed the Bills. And what happened after that Tennessee game, folks? The Bills didn't lose a legitimate game the rest of the regular season. I'm not counting the Hail Murray. They didn't lose a legitimate game outside of a 50-yard prayer from Kyler Murray. And if you look at this schedule, which I think the Bills roll the Titans, so let's just start there. You go into your bye 5-1 with the best offense and defense in the league. You come out of that bye and you play 3 teams that you could take a nap on the field till halftime and still get a W. Dolphins, Jags, Jets. You are walking to 8-1. Then you're playing a Colts team who has not lived up even close to what we thought they could be this year. The Saints, who are the Saints? Nobody knows. That's on Thanksgiving. We saw a Saints team who rolled the Packers. And off the bat, you're thinking, well, these Saints could be legit. No doubt. And then the following week, what do the Saints do? They get rolled by the Panthers, and then they lose to the New York Giants, a team who we can all agree, not good. So then you got that game. And then you play the Pats. You know my thoughts on that. Another primetime game. And I think we can all agree at this point in time, I don't have any reason to think that'll be close. Then it's the Bucs. Then it's the Panthers. Good D. Do you really think that the Panthers offense can keep up with Buffalo? And then you end the season with the Pats, the Falcons, who are a dumpster fire, and the Jets, who are a dumpster fire. I dare you to point out 2 losses there. I challenge you to give me the argument as to where you see 2 losses for the Bills on that schedule. Folks, 14-3 right now. It seems like the floor. 14-3 seems like the floor. Wouldn't blow my mind at all if this team's on the highway to 15-2. How sustainable is this offense and defensive run? I have no idea. But my God, we're 5 weeks in and it's been very sustainable, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And we all know that in this game now, in this day and age in the NFL, defense doesn't win you championships, but it does when it's combined with an elite offense. You no longer can be like the Ravens under Joe Flacco and win with just an incredible defense, and that's that. You need to have both units. But usually you don't have both units being at the absolute top of the league. The Bills have that right now. I saw a stat earlier. I forget exactly what it was, but it was something to the effect of the Bills being number 1 in both the defensive scoring and the offensive scoring through 5 weeks. I think it was either the first time it's ever happened in NFL history, if not one of the first time, or one of the only times. So we're talking an historic run here. And the best part about beating the Chiefs after everything is you silence everybody who said that the Bills were on the run that they were on because they played 3 dumpster fires. You silence that narrative. And I love how everybody all of a sudden wants to just go and claim the Chiefs aren't good. I mean, where does the goalpost stop being moved to? Give me a break. Oh, it's not a big game. Let me know when they beat them in a big game. Oh, they're not a good team. Well, who's a good team? Who's a good team? Because if the Chiefs aren't a good team, I don't know who is. And if you look at the Bills' schedule, the Chiefs were easily the toughest opponent they'll have outside of potentially Tampa Bay. And I would say right now, I would take the Chiefs over Tampa Bay. Here's where it gets insane. And if you don't want to take my word for it, let the statistics speak for themselves. Now, I understand. As I always say, grain of salt with all these things. Grain of salt with all these things. But if you look at the ESPN FPI projections right now, going into week 6, the Bills have a 99.8% chance to make the playoffs. A 98.9% chance to win the division. I tweeted this out earlier. And as I wrote it, I laughed to myself because in a messed up way, it's true. You'd have a better chance of walking outside your front door right now and getting struck by lightning than the Bills not making the playoffs or winning the division. And we are 5 games in. Give me a break. And it doesn't stop there. 93.9% chance to make it to the divisional round. 76.5% chance to get to the AFC title. 57.7% chance to make the Super Bowl. Now, after you want to understand how big that Chiefs win was? Their odds of going to the Super Bowl percentage-wise went up by 12.7% after beating the Chiefs. ESPN also has them with a 36.6% chance to win the Super Bowl. That went up by 8% after beating the Chiefs. Super chat coming in here. My boy RC3. Hazy Bot. The Jets give us fits every year like Miami did in New England. I think we may drop one to them on some crazy off day. RC, love you, man. Appreciate the super chat. I think our days of worrying about dropping one to the Chiefs, or excuse me, although maybe the same argument could be said. I think our days of worrying about dropping one to the Jets are a bit behind us. Now, I love how you're still humble, RC. I love how you're still humble. You're still willing to accept the fact that there could be an off week, and it does happen. The Bills had an off week against Pittsburgh. The Bills play Pittsburgh this week. I pray for the Steelers if that was the situation. Wouldn't be the same outcome we saw week 1. RC, with your point there, I for the life of me could not in my right mind fathom a way that Zach Wilson finds a way to put up enough points against this defense to fathom a win, to generate a win. I also can't see Robert Saleh outcoaching Sean McDermott in his first year. I would be utterly stunned if that wound up being the case. Carmen, Bills don't lose again this season unless we suffer an injury. That's a good point, Carmen. The Bills have been ridiculously healthy. You look around the league, and who's healthier than the Bills? I understand you lose Milano, and God bless him. I love Matt Milano, one of my favorite players on this Bills team, one of the best players on this Bills team. Good God, can't stay on the field. You are guaranteed to lose him for a couple games a year minimum. And the concern was they can't win without him last year. That narrative's gone. It just feels like that Chiefs win was like the last wrong that needed to be right. And they righted the wrongs. I mean, how many of them can you list off? I've already listed off a bunch throughout this show. That one just felt like the last one. And I think it's better to get it out of the way in the regular season. Everybody's dogging the fact that the Bills fans are excited about beating the Chiefs in the regular season. Why would you not want to get it out of the way in the regular season? If the Bills had lost to the Chiefs again on Sunday night and met them in the playoffs again, I'd be infinitely scared. Because they have proved in 3 straight shots they couldn't do it. Now I know that not only can they do it, they can do it in style. I mean, that Stephon Diggs was a non-factor. Cole Beasley, where the hell has he been? Gabe Davis, I forgot he was even on the field until he had his first catch. And I've said this, I don't know how many times this year. I'll continue to say it until it stops. Emmanuel Sanders, how unbelievable of a pickup was that for this Bills team? Is he not the best receiver on the field right now? Every time he runs down the field, he is wide open. He runs the best deep route on this team. I mean, that touchdown that Josh Allen hit him to kick the game off for their first TD. I mean, it was a dime, but Emmanuel Sanders he smoked his man, had multiple steps on his guy. And Emmanuel Sanders was the best offensive player on the field the other night, outside of Josh Allen, of course. Well, I will maybe eat my words there. Dawson Knox. And let's talk about him for a second. I saved this because I wanted to do this on here. I'm glad this is coming up. I will take that back. I think I overspoke a little bit. I'll say this: best wide receiver on the field. I would say on Sunday night, Dawson Knox was the X factor. It felt like for the Bills on Sunday night. So I'm bringing this out because look I was not in favor of the Bills pursuing Dawson Knox any further. After what I had saw last year, the drops, the inability to really rely on him as a tight end number one, I was ready for Ertz. I was ready for a move, and he has made me eat those words in a way that I could not wait to eat. I mean, I love when I'm wrong about things that I say about the Bills that I hope change. I love when I'm wrong, and I'll eat a big bowl of wrong on this one. I got the Dawson Knox apology. It's not showing up very well, of course. I got the Dawson Knox apology form here. It says to Dawson Knox, and I'll sign this right here. To Dawson Knox from Zbot. Date is, what is today? October 13th. And the reason for behavior, here are the listings. I don't know football, was jealous of Dawson Knox. Mercury was in retrograde. Media told me he was bad. Wasn't patient enough. Wanted to sign Zach Ertz. Last two are easily the selections for me. Was not nearly patient enough on Zach Ertz, on Dawson Knox, and wanted to sign Zach Ertz. At the bottom here, it says, I am sorry for my behavior, and I hereby respect Josh Allen. Signed and delivered. You can't read it because it's too bright, and my handwriting's terrible. It is signed. Yeah. Dawson Knox in a primetime game, lights out. That was one of the best performances out of a tight end. That might have been the best performance out of a tight end I've ever seen from a Buffalo Bill in my time. And he only had 3 catches. But 3 catches was 1/5 of Josh Allen's completions on Sunday night. That's how dominant in such a short amount of plays. That's how dominant the Bills were on offense. But back to Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, 2 touchdowns on 3 receptions. The one late to seal it, the one in the beginning to bust it open. I'm blown away with Emmanuel Sanders so far this season. I'm loving what we've gotten out of him so far. Already has 4 touchdowns, 322 yards. And I mean, look, you got Cole Beasley, who's, just really been a non-factor. Gabe Davis, even more of a non-factor. And, right now, Stephon Diggs, who is, unarguably one of the best receivers in the league. I think the Bills are benefiting from Emmanuel Sanders being on this team because now you have so many weapons that you have to worry about, especially Stephon Diggs. That allows Emmanuel Sanders to be on the weaker corner. That allows him to get open for these touchdowns. And Stephon Diggs is having a quietly good year, 28 catches to lead the team, 374 yards and a touchdown. I'm not saying Emmanuel Sanders is better than Stephon Diggs. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the acquisition of Emmanuel Sanders has opened up this offense in a way that, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, I think Emmanuel Sanders has been a hell of an acquisition to really make this offense even better than it already was. And a good point I'm seeing here coming from CR, Sanders is a Super Bowl champion. You can see why. What do Super Bowl teams often do in the pursuit of a Super Bowl? They add these veteran guys. They add guys who are hungry for a championship, want to be on winning teams, and help the locker room understand what it takes to win a Super Bowl. And oftentimes you get that without the most elite play on the field. We're getting both from Emmanuel Sanders. And he's a stand-up guy too, which all these guys are in Buffalo. What more can you say? But when you get him in the press conference, it's terrific. Always has the best things to say, humble and hungry, just as this entire team is. I mean, this is the greatest time ever to be a Bills fan. Holy smokes. And, who would have thought after that Pittsburgh game that we would be riding this high the way we are right now? I don't know. It wasn't in the cards at that point for me. It really wasn't. Nicholas Lubb coming in. It's the first time for the NFL. You think Rousseau could be defensive rookie of the year if he keeps up this work? I would think he'd have a chance if it wasn't for Diggs out in Dallas, Nick. I mean, what Stephon Diggs' brother is doing out in Dallas is, I mean, he's on pace for an historic defensive year. I think he's got 6 picks in 5 games. He is absolutely on fire. You could argue he's the best corner in the league right now. It's his first year. Is it his first year? Wait, I might be wrong on that. Wait, is it? Somebody tell me. I could be wrong here. I think I'm right. Tell me I'm right. Somebody tell me I'm right before I got to look this up. But anyway, I think, Rousseau, if he continues to play the way he did Sunday night, I mean, why would he not be a candidate for defensive rookie of the year? But I don't know if at this moment in time I would make the argument. But okay, so let's see here. Yep. Okay, so Trevon Diggs is a rookie. Sorry, it took me a minute to find that. I'm seeing conflicting. He's not a rookie. Okay, my fault. Are we sure? I don't know, man. I'm talking out of my ass right now. Sorry. Okay, it's his second year. Thank you, everybody. I think I'm getting him confused with Micah Parsons. I think it's because that defense has arrived so powerfully out in Dallas. Plus, you didn't really hear much about Trevon Diggs until earlier in the year here when he started going on and when he started going off. And God, that dude's having a year. But with that said, all right, so I'm out on Trevon Diggs. My bad for thinking he was a rookie. Brain fart there. Look, Nick, I mean, I don't know. The potential is there. The potential is totally there. I mean, if you look at Rousseau, and it's kind of like Josh Allen with Brandon Beane here, where you take these guys who they seem rough around the edges according to the analysts and they're project players, but they have an infinite amount of talent and their ceiling is super, super high. And I think a lot of people were iffy on the pick. There's a lot of people who wanted to go in different directions. And within 5 weeks, you got the guy terrorizing on the edge, and he gets defensive rookie of the week against one of, if not the best offenses in the entire NFL. So sky's the limit for Rousseau, and I think it's definitely in the cards for sure. Nick, God, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? That would be great. Get an MVP year from Josh Allen and a defensive rookie of the year out of Rousseau. Love that. A-Train, no, I'm not high, just a brain fart. Don't know why I thought Trevon Diggs was a rookie, but hey, I can't be perfect all the time. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get into predictions this week coming up. Bills Monday Night Football in Nashville. Anybody in here going to be there? If you are, let me know. Would love to run into a couple of you along with the rest of the city of Buffalo, because like I mentioned with Steve earlier, if you've never experienced a Bills game out in Nashville, do it ASAP, because it is a home away from home in a awesome city with awesome people. There's nothing like it. It's bars for days. You can drink in the streets. There's literally nothing to do but just have a good time. And, bar, band. And it's just a sea of Bills fans. It is a sea of Bills fans everywhere you go, from the grocery store to the bar to the game. It is just, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 50-50 down the middle, Bills fans, Titans fans at the stadium, truthfully. So Monday Night Football, super excited for it. The Bills' first Monday Night Football game of the year, back-to-back primetime games for the Bills against, of course, the two teams last year in primetime who romped them. The Bills got their revenge against the Chiefs. Now they have the opportunity to do so against the Titans. And I think, like my buddy Steve said earlier, who was on here, the Titans defense, you just don't see them being able to put up a fight against the Bills offense right now. That's just the best in the league. Scoring at will, doing whatever they please, running the ball very well, throwing the ball very well, scoring at will. And not only that, you have a stout defense. You know Derrick Henry's going to run the ball. The Bills have been very successful against Derrick Henry the last 3 times they've played him. I understand he had 2 touchdowns last year, but he's not popping off for over 100 yards against the Bills the last few times they've seen him. So I'm not overly concerned about this game, but then again, it is a primetime game. You are coming off a massive win. You could see where the argument for a letdown could be made here, but as I keep reiterating, I just don't view this Bills team as a team capable of a major letdown based on a game the week prior. I don't think they let their emotions get to them. I don't think there's necessarily emotions within this team that affect what they do on the field. It's a game-by-game basis. They don't value one over than the other or more than the other, and I think that's exactly how they're going to treat this one. So my game prediction, just off the top of my head here with that defense, I think the Bills touch down on close to 40 again. I'll say 36-19 Bills in another statement win after 4 in a row going into the bye. And how could you feel better about this team going into a much-deserved break with the slate of games that they have after they get out of that bye? I mean, like I said earlier, go ahead and take a look at that schedule. It'll have you salivating at the mouth. I don't see a Bills loss in the near future, not even close. Let's see what you guys think. Crypto Headquarters, 34-20. Brian Buck, 35-10. Bills fan, 1970, 31-13. Bills. TJ, 37-16. Bills. CR, 50-3. Bills win. CR, love it, baby. I hope I'm in person for something like that. Day Trooper GW, 34-17. Loving all these. I can't lie. Question coming in here before I get moving on. Another score in here, by the way. No losses, only learning. 91 through 94, 27-21 Bills. Matt Milano. Questions on Matt Milano here. Is Matt Milano going to play? I'd venture that he does. I think the reason he didn't play last week is because just what Sean McDermott said. He said that they wanted him to be healthy for the duration of the season and not just one game. I think that's why they put him out on the injured list on Sunday night, and it paid off. I mean, I was definitely concerned. I was definitely concerned with him not playing based on how Travis Kelce torched the Bills last year without Matt Milano out on that field. But the fact that they got that done the way they did on defense without him was impressive. So even if he doesn't play this weekend, I don't think we should be concerned. Why would we be after what we just saw? And if he doesn't play, I think it's probably a move on McDermott's part to keep him getting healthier, to keep him as healthy as possible for the length of the season. Although I would love to see him out there. You need as much help as you can get in the middle there when you're facing off against a guy like Derrick Henry. And it's a great point here coming in from Chris. I think he sits and gets bye week 2. That's a great point because if you think about it, you're out for the Chiefs game, out for the Titans game, bye week, and then you go into the following week outside of the bye against the Dolphins. So that would be about 4 weeks of rest for Milano to really get him healthy. So wouldn't be too upset at all if Milano winds up missing this one. But like I just said, you'd really love to have him in there if he's ready to go to help stop that truck in Derrick Henry. Before I let you go, got to tell you about my friends over at NordVPN. Been doing some awesome stuff with them as of late, and we're so excited to have them as our new partner here at Buffalo Fanatics. short little video clip that I play each week to kind of show you the rundown of what you can get from NordVPN and what to expect with what you get. What up, Buffalo fanatics, Z-Bot, Z here with you live. No, not again. Come on. Man, every time I go live, my internet lags out. What's this? Z-Bot, you got to start using NordVPN for your streams. It will help speed up your internet. 2-year plan is 70% off at the bfvpn.com, and you get your first month free. Kingpin knows best. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Z-Bot back with you with better than ever internet connection thanks to NordVPN. The best live streams use the best internet connection. That's why the Buffalo Fanatics is proud to be sponsored by NordVPN. Visit thebfpn.com to take advantage of 70% off a 2-year plan with your first month free. You heard the man. The bfvpn.com. Head over there, take advantage of that awesome promotion from NordVPN right away. How fun was this one, everybody? I can't tell you how much I was dying to get on here with you tonight. That was one of the biggest wins in my life. I know you felt the same that I did, and it just feels so good to have knocked off those Chiefs, especially the way the Bills did, and we just realized what we had hoped we would realize early on in this year. The Bills are for real. Defense is for real. Offense is for real. They're the best team in the league right now, and they're in the driver's seat on their way to what we are all hoping for, a Super Bowl appearance and perhaps beyond. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. We got a while till then, and before then, we got a Monday night matchup with the Tennessee Titans. I'll be there in Nashville. Follow me on Twitter at ZachB22. I'll be posting pictures and videos all weekend. So live vicariously through me if you can't make it. If you do make it, hit me up. Would love to meet some of you. If not, if you're there, if you're not, enjoy the game. Enjoy the weekend. And as always, go Bills.